So today's topic is yoga and the benefits for the myeloma community. And the reason why we chose this topic is because we've had previous yoga sessions within the HealthTree Moves chapter that have been really successful. And we wanted to continue those because we know that yoga is a special way to move that has more benefits than just physical. And Jean is actually going to go into more detail about that. But lots of you like yoga, lots of you are novice yoga learners, and lots of you are expert yoga learners. And so we're excited to just yogis, some could even say. And so we're excited to all join together to practice yoga. It's my pleasure to introduce Jean to you. She was diagnosed in late 2011 at the age of 54 after a few years of weird labs. She went through standard induction, responded well, and had an autologous stem cell transplant in 2012. She was on Revlimid for about 8 years in a very good remission until about 2 years ago. It was slow and she tried to get into a CAR T trial, but she didn't qualify at the last minute. So after the bones took another big hit, she is now on ongoing treatment. She worked through the entire treatment process except for 5 months for the transplant as an educator of children. Her husband is an excellent caregiver and she has been in a support group of some sort since after the transplant. She's recently retired, which was planned pre-COVID, but is now impacted by the active cancer and COVID, as many are. She's looking forward for another remission, but also glad to know that there are so many new treatments approved. And you'll probably share this, but her yoga certification came yesterday, and we're just so excited for you to share your passion, something you're experienced in, and something you're excited about today. So, Jean, with that, I will open up your slides and we can get started with your presentation.
Okay. Yeah, maybe do the first slide, the takeaway
Okay.
a little bit.
All right, pulling that up now. It just takes a minute to switch over to the new deck. Can you see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Hopefully everybody else can. So with such a huge topic and a range of attendees that I am guessing range from maybe people who have never done yoga to people who have, like me, who have done yoga all their life, I wanted to focus primarily on these three parts. Audrey asked me to. And so we'll talk about the benefits, the multiple benefits, and then some resources to support you in your yoga journey. And then I will do a demonstration / practice that you're welcome to join. So actually, if you can go back to the slide about me, I'm going to add my yoga piece to it.
Oh, that's in the other deck, but
okay.
If you just want to, sorry.
Yeah, this is fine. So just so that slide had all my myeloma info. And so I wanted to talk about a little bit how I ended up in this place of yoga and training as a yoga teacher, which was not in my plans originally. So I've practiced yoga for over 40 years on a variety of levels, trying different styles, which we'll talk about a little as you might be looking for places, but primarily Hatha Iyengar, which are traditional types of yoga. So they apply to all these, some of you are aware of all these funky commercial kinds and things like that. But then after being diagnosed, I was obviously really concerned about the extreme bone damage. So I had to look at yoga differently. I know not everyone, but a lot of people with myeloma have bone damage. And that was my only main physical symptom, and head to toe holes, like many of you I've heard at different sessions, compression fractures in my spine. Over this latest, the relapse, I had to have radiation, which I didn't have the first time, in my sternum and my hip. So I've had extensive bone damage, and obviously yoga could be dangerous in some ways. So I luckily found out about some local free yoga for cancer classes. There were two, one not at a yoga center, one at my yoga center. So that's where I started after diagnosis and continued. And then, and it was very, very supportive. and addressed my concerns. And after a few years, though, the funding went away. So for both of them. And so one of the classes that was at my local yoga center they turned it into a paid class, renamed it restorative, so it would still keep going, but I know that not everyone could afford it. I was still working at the time, but getting closer to retirement. So I thought, well, I could do that. So that was my goal, was to offer that class for free as a volunteer. So that's what I'm in the process of right now, actually, because even though you don't legally in most states need formal training or certification, I thought, well, I want to do that so that I have all the basics down. And it's a prerequisite for cancer yoga workshops, which there are around the country in different places, which I'll share with you later in the resources. So obviously COVID put a lot of that on hold, and I ended up doing the training online instead of in person, which actually was better because I don't know that I could do all day yoga at a training anymore in my physical condition. So I'm working with the social worker at my cancer center, my health center, to find a space and offer it when things are safe enough. That's my next step. So there's many virtual classes and offerings, and I'll give you some of those if you don't already have them later in the session. So let's go to the benefits slide, Audrey, sorry. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is really the core of what this session today is, because I know I attended a chair yoga one here last year that was really good, and there's all kinds of the technical stuff, but why would we consider doing yoga if we've never done it or maybe tried it and weren't sure? So it basically boils down to the obvious, your health and your quality of life. So building strength and flexibility for those of us with bone damage, and I would venture to say no matter what your age is, that is probably one of the number one goals and benefits of yoga is strength and flexibility. And that's something that we feel we've lost when our bones have all these holes. And when I was first diagnosed, I couldn't walk. So, and I know many of you have that same or variations of that. So strength and flexibility is one of the primary benefits of doing yoga. Another benefit that is hidden within more, isn't as obvious as strength and flexibility, is strengthening the immune system. The yoga system, and this is why I mentioned Hatha and Iyengar, because some of them don't address this, but there are many practices within yoga and asanas, which are the poses that activate and strengthen the immune system. And I will say as a disclaimer, one, I'm not obviously a doctor, so I can't answer the technical questions of these benefits, but I have provided in a resource some research for you to read about and explains it. A third really great benefit that I have found, and I know a lot of the people I coach as a myeloma coach complain about the fatigue, also in my local support group. That is often one of the biggest complaints once you're in treatment and you're along your myeloma journey, is I'm tired all the time. And I have to admit, when people say to me, I don't take any medications for that. I just turned 65 this year, so Medicare. And I really, days are long, so obviously I go to bed early, but during the day, the yoga really helps. And I try to do my yoga in the morning, helps navigate that fatigue and relieve it. Yoga can also manage pain. I know that sounds counterintuitive, because some people will think, well, what if I'm going to have pain from doing the yoga? But actually the way and manner we do yoga for cancer can alleviate the pain, can work it through and let it go. Another benefit of yoga is that it improves your sleep and can reduce anxiety and stress. And some of those of you that do practice yoga know that that is a general benefit of yoga. It's not specific to cancer, is that there are practices within yoga, because many of you might think, the typical thing is yoga's the poses, the asanas, but yoga includes meditation. Mindfulness is an offshoot related to yoga practices. I don't know how many of you have heard of yoga nidra, which is very popular and common now. And yoga nidra isn't actually for sleep, although many people use it to fall asleep. It's a guided meditation practice that often is used to create energy and reduce the fatigue. So there's practices within the yoga group that help you with sleeping and reducing your anxiety and stress. One of the biggest ones for those of us with the bone damage is yoga can increase bone density. So I know that most of us get a bone scan, a skeletal scan once a year, more often depending. I get a PET CT scan because of the particular type of myeloma. I have light chain and it doesn't show up on, I have no M spike. It doesn't show up in a bone marrow biopsy, all of that. But besides Zometa, which we get, and I've maxed out, so I can't get Zometa anymore. Increasing your bone density from doing the yoga is a gentle, natural process and great benefit. So another benefit that from yoga is that it can help manage your side effects. An example is constipation, neuropathy. The biggest side effect many of us have, including myself, is diarrhea. So basically, gastrointestinal issues can be addressed through yoga. And neuropathy, you can do a lot of seated positions. I'm going to do a few standing and some seated, and that will help and show you some things you can do, because I know a lot of people in my support group have neuropathy and they can't do any standing actions, and they obviously have a lot of pain and discomfort from that. And to me, one of the most important things of all of this is that yoga encourages you, just like we say, be your best advocate with your oncologist and your doctor for your treatments and your health care. This encourages all of us to participate in our wellness plan. It improves your physical functioning, and you can take ownership. It's obviously easy to do. You can do at home. You can go to a studio. You can do online now. One of the great benefits, the last couple of years is all the online classes and availability of programs, and adapt it to your own individual situation, and you will reap these benefits. So I want to just mention, and then we'll actually in a few minutes be able to go towards the demonstration, is that the other, the piece I said earlier about you in the audience might be anywhere from beginners and novices to very experienced. That's one of the great things about yoga. You can do any of those. You do not have to have a lot of knowledge or practice going into it. You can know nothing. I know a lot of people have preconceived ideas, and give it a try. Have an open mind and think, well, I just want to work on this one piece. If it does that, that's good for me. The other piece I want to say related to being your advocate is you need to do that with yoga. One of the keys, if you're taking it with a teacher live or online, is that you, just like with a doctor, you need to make sure that that teacher has good, solid training and experience, because we can't just do anything. We have to be very careful about what we do with our bodies, and that they are responsive to you. So even, for example, the training that I did a lot of research to find a place that understood my situation with my age and cancer first, and that was open to being supportive, and that provided a lot of variety. Because you'll hear me say when I'm doing the demonstration, don't think that you have to do what someone else does or can do, or what they tell you to do if it causes pain or discomfort. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself and know your level of fitness and what you can and can't do, and don't force yourself to do anything. I know that a few people in my support group tried. I encouraged them to try a free yoga class at the beginning of COVID that was offered through a outdoors group, because we couldn't get together and hike and walk. And it was offered by a very competent, well-trained teacher. But even so, some of them felt, I can't do that. And so they shied away. So that's my biggest caution, is focus on yourself, focus on the benefits, and have fun with it. It's really a beneficial practice to do. Okay, Aud, can you move to the one that says types of yoga? Because that's perfect right now. Thank you. So speaking of yoga studios, and I actually did go back one day a week to my studio last spring, to a teacher that I've been practicing with for years. She knows my whole situation. She first did some one-on-ones with me to see what I could and couldn't do, and give me some things to do at home. And I obviously wear a mask. I go early, get in the corner, and do my thing, because I just needed to get out of the house. But you're fine if you can set up in a space at home. So one of the things you'll hear about when you're looking for a class is, what are types of yoga that I can do? And these are just 4 examples. Obviously cancer. And the cancer classes that I went to were geared towards all kinds of cancer. So a lot of times it's focused on breast cancer or organ cancers, because they can be really specific. But depending on the teacher, you can say, this is what I have, or this is what I can do, and it'll apply, because a lot of it's for your internal organs. So you want to look for a cancer class if you can find it. There's a lot of classes now called gentle yoga, as the baby boomers are aging, and you could find that at your rec center. There's some at my local rec center, but again, remember, think about yourself and the teacher. Keep those in mind. There's restorative yoga, which is wonderful, and that might be similar or close, or address the needs. And then there's senior yoga now. And you might think, oh, senior yoga, that'll be easy. But what I've noticed, I haven't gone to any, but I've explored them, is that the senior yoga classes seem to focus on, sometimes, because there's a particular program in Arizona, getting seniors to be able to do things that they could do younger, and it might not be right for us. So just some cautionary information. But those are examples of what you might find when you're looking for something that you could do. Then there's different schools or styles of yoga. And these are probably what you've heard of or seen, especially if you go to yoga studios or yoga centers. So Hatha yoga is from India, so is Iyengar. They all originate with Hatha and then Iyengar. And so they're just different levels, different styles. And there's more than these. I named listed the 5 probably most common ones that you've heard of. Core Power is actually a company. It's not a type of yoga, and they probably do. I know they do vinyasa and a lot of other styles. But Hatha yoga is a little more gentle and basic and slower. Iyengar, which is what I practice now, is also slower, methodical. It takes you through the poses, very precise, and a lot of variables, which is supportive. And then there's vinyasa, which really is Hatha and Iyengar in a quick sequence. And some people love vinyasa. I used to do it when I was younger. I would say vinyasa for older people with bone damage can be a little tricky because you're moving fast and you need to get into these positions. And I just decided it's not for me anymore, but you know your body and you do what's right for you. Ashtanga, I have never tried. I've heard of it, so I'm just putting it down there. I don't know a lot about it. I think it's pretty intense from what I've been told. And Kundalini, the last one, I've tried a few times. It has a lot to do with breathing, so it's a little bit different and unique. Okay, so I think, Audrey, let's do some yoga. I don't know if we want to do quickly. I'll just mention the props and then we'll go over it later. So I'm going to move. There we go. Thanks. So if you're ready to do yoga and you have your props set up, I have mine behind me. You don't have to have all the fancy props, but for cancer yoga, props are a key component. So I'm just going to kind of run through these quickly. I don't want you to spend time running and getting things, but if you have them handy or you already did, that's awesome. So obviously a mat, and that's so you don't slip and slide and you have a space to do that helps you set up your poses. A chair is very helpful. I have a yoga chair. I'll show you. It's a special yoga chair, but it's really like a card table chair without a back, but any vertical standing, not a comfy chair, like a dining room chair with a back. The chair, I'll explain to you when I do it, is a prop. This is not the same as chair yoga, which is wonderful yoga, by the way, too. I didn't list it there. Pillows, blankets are great for putting under your rear end to prop you up so that your spine is straight and neutral. A bolster, which can be rolled up towels or blankets if you don't want to buy a bolster. Blocks, which probably everybody has seen, or a giant book or something, and then a strap or a belt. Okay, so I'm going to get up and move into the yoga area, onto the yoga mat. And let me grab my list of poses. Oh, I got a cat sleeping here. Okay, so if you can move, or you can just watch me if you want. We're going to start in standing position. And if you are a yogi or yogini already, you know that typically we keep our feet hips width apart for most general poses. And your back is extended neutrally, so don't go forward or don't overarch. I'll show you from the side. So hips width apart, standing comfortably in a vertical position. And this is called Tadasana, or mountain pose, and your arms are loose by your side. So one thing I want to make sure that everybody keeps in their head for almost all of these yoga poses. Do not lock your knees. So keep your knees softly bent or comfortable as much as you need to. If you have pain, you bend more. You do what your body needs. That's the important thing. And the same thing with the hand placement. If I say do this and this hurts, don't do it. Do this in different places. Do what you know you can do. You've probably, depending on your situation, already made some adaptations for everyday activities. And in terms of overall, I'm just going to show you each pose once, but some schools of yoga say repeat it 3 times. Some say do it slowly and hold once. Again, that's your option, your choice. So I welcome you to join me with caution. And the first pose we're going to do is a simple forward bend. So I'm set up for it right now. It's called Uttanasana. And I'm going to slightly bend my knees. And I'm going to inhale. So inhale up. So I'm also going to tell you that if your shoulders hurt and you can't do this, don't raise your arms, just do this, but inhale. Everybody can inhale, and that's where one of the benefits is from the breathing to help you breathe. Okay, so inhale. Exhale down. And and remember to keep your knees slightly bent and go as far as is comfortable for you. And again, I'm going to show you variations. So you can keep your hands on your hips as you go down. And this is an exhale. You can hold your knees, your thighs, your shins, your toes, the floor if you can. And one of the benefits for me has been that my spine compression fractures have healed and grown out. I haven't lost any height, which is amazing compared to people I've talked to. So good benefit. Okay, but you can do this. And then when you're ready to come up, inhale, exhale. Okay. And that's a very basic standard pose, forward bend. Okay, and then I'm going to show you one that everybody knows with a couple variations. And we usually come up from the mat, but I'm going to actually start doing it from a standing downward facing dog or Adho Mukha. And I'm going to show you it the standard way and then using the chair as a prop to help you if you cannot do it the whole way. So inhale. Remember, if your shoulders can't do this, you're like this. Okay. And then exhale down. I'm doing it from a forward bend, and then I'm going to move my hands forward, shoulder width apart, legs back, a little wider than hip width apart. And this extends your back. And if you can put your heels down. If not, don't. If it hurts to straighten your legs, bend your knees. And then I'm going to show you a variation where you move forward. And if you cannot go to the floor, this is a wonderful variation of downward dog. And the key here is to make sure your spine doesn't overarch. We'll go like that so that you get the full extension. And you can hold that for a minute. Inhale, walk in. And release. And I'm going to just quick ask Audrey, do I need to turn my lights on or can you still see me? It's dusk here.
I can still see you pretty well. You guys are welcome to put in the chat if you can't see her and want her lights on, but I still see you pretty well.
Okay, because I'm in Denver and the sun came blaring through as we started, so we closed everything up. Okay, so those are two really beneficial and wonderful basic standing poses: forward bend and downward facing dog, which isn't standing, but you can start at standing in this case. Okay, so I'm going to move to the mat. The reason I asked you about the light is I'm so far away I can't see the screen right now. Okay, so first I'm going to be showing you use of props. And I typically use these blankets, and I'm probably going to kick the cat off if I need them, but a pillow works too. And here's my blocks, my bolster. and a strap if I need it. So the first on the floor pose I'm going to show, most people know this one. It's called child's pose, Balasana. And I'm going to show you a standard, which I'm not even sure if I can do, but it won't hurt me. And then a couple variations depending on your situation. So child's pose we know usually is a transitional pose between other poses, but it's for whenever you're hurting, you need a good stretch, a little meditation time. It's a wonderful all-around pose. So you are in Virasana on your knees, and then you just go forward with your hands, touch your head to the mat. And breathe evenly in and out. Inhale and exhale. Now I'm going to show you variations right now because I need them. So first of all, I open my knees so that my torso fits in here. And then what I also do, I am going to move the kitty cat, is take a folded up blanket. And I might even do this. Okay, I know you want to do yoga. This cushions all my bones here. And I might also, I'm going to show you lots of things you can do. Put a blanket under my knees because maybe my knees are hurt. I might even put my whole bottom part on my knees. And put this here, and then reach my arms up. And if you're going to be standard, I keep my arms straight, but if it hurts, you can do this. And obviously take care of your shoulders too. So if those hurt, move your hands in. But the standard pose would be like this. And remember, inhale and exhale. Don't forget the breathing. One more possible assistance is, I've seen this with a block or a blanket. If your forehead hurts or your neck hurts, put the block here and rest your head on the block. If this is too high, you can use a pillow or a blanket. And then you would just sit here for a while. It's very, very comfortable and supportive. Okay, inhale, come up. And then you can come up to this, just sitting, easy sitting position. Okay, I'm going to do, before I do sitting, I'm going to do one, a seated forward bend, which is, we did a standing forward bend because these are so great for your spine. So I'll show you, you can elevate your pelvis. And I would say for most of us, just automatically put something under your pelvis. It can be thick like a pillow or just like a blanket here. And your legs out in front of you. And this position is called Paschimottanasana. Again, bend your knees. It's easy to do this, but bend your knees just a little or enough that you're releasing any tension. And then raise your arms on an inhale. And if you can't raise your arms, remember, always put them on your hip or here. And then, okay, so inhale, exhale. And if you can't reach, you reach wherever you can. Hips, thighs, shins, feet. And take a couple breaths here. Inhale, come out. However it works for you. And this one is also, again, for your spine and all through here. Okay. And then I'm going to show you a couple of seated poses that will address sides, arms, all the a couple different areas. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is just called a lateral stretch. And again, so I'm always, if you notice, I'm always propping my pelvis up with a blanket, or maybe I'll take the pillow this time just to show you. If you need more height, you can sit on a block. It just makes it more comfortable, less stress, and better overall. Okay, so a lateral stretch is just what it sounds like. And again, I'm going to show you the full pose, but you can adapt your arms and shoulders and how far you bend. So inhale up, exhale to one side. And here's, I'm just going to quick show you variations. You can go far, not very far, not raise your arm on shoulder, inhale up, exhale down, and then other side. Inhale, exhale, gently, slowly. Again, variations, not very far, up to your body, your muscles, your bones. Inhale, release. Check the time, okay. Then this next one is a simple seated twist. And this is one of the poses that does address gastrointestinal. There's quite a few, but this one through the twist is activating your digestive system. If you want to know more details, go into the research, because I don't know how it does it. I just know it does do that. Okay, so simple seated twist. I'm going to put hands out. And this can also be done on a chair. If you cannot get on the floor for any of these, you can do all of these poses on a chair. That's where chair yoga is from. It takes the floor poses for people that cannot get down either because of knees, legs, hips, back, and moves them to the chair. Okay, so simple seated twist. Again, inhale up, turn one way. Now you guys pick which side, just do both sides. Put your front arm on your knee, and your back arm, depending on how far you can twist in your comfort level, can go to the floor. This would be on an exhale, can go to the floor. It can go to your hip. It can go to your back. And I'll show you the back. If you're doing it on the back, it goes here to support your back, your lumbar. And I want to make sure you know you're twisting in the thoracic. Don't twist your neck, and don't twist your cervical, or your lumbar, sorry. It's all in here so that you don't tweak or hurt. And this is where your digestive system is. And then take a few breaths. Remember to make sure your spine is neutral, not arched and not curved. And then inhale and come back to center. Comfortable, seated cross-leg. One thing I'm going to also mention, there are many, many, many people, both with and without cancer, who cannot do this because of knees or hips. And so one of my best friends is 85 with bad arthritis. She just does this, and you can do it at any, and same thing. So if you cannot do cross-legged, there's always something you can do. Rest your hands comfortably on your knees. Inhale up. We're just doing the other side. Exhale, twist. And again, if you can't do this, just inhale and go like this. Take a couple breaths. And then I'm going to inhale. Come back to center. So that's a simple seated twist. Okay, let's see. This next one, I think I'm going to go to shoulders, seated shoulder stretch, and a comfortable position. I had thrown a little one in here that really works this, but I think it's going to be hard for you to see and time-wise hard to do. So I'm going to show you two arm things because I think it's really important. I did have a lot of damage in my shoulders, but I was able slowly and surely to get back to not where I was before, and age could be part of it, but in a good place. So I'm going to show you two shoulder stretches, seated shoulder stretches you can do in a chair or on the floor. The first one's called Garudasana, and this is where it helps to have a strap. And I think I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see what I'm doing in behind me, and I'll twist, even though that's not part of the pose, to show you. So this is a pose which many of you may remember from your younger years, where you raise your arms and you take the upper one close to your head, and that's a good stretch right there. And you take the other one and you bring it around your back and you try to touch your hands. Don't do it if you can't do it. And so this is where the strap comes in, because I hold the strap and that's as far as I can get, but I get the stretch. And just make sure to keep the upper arm next to your head and the lower arm next to your body. And if this hurts, don't do it. Just do this, or do this, or do this, or do this. And then we'll quickly do it on the other side because we want to be balanced. So again, do this. Inhale. Exhale. Maneuver into whatever works for you. The other arm up next to your head and the opposite arm down next to your body. Okay. And then exhale, release. And the next one, give it a try. If you can't do it, just move your arms close together. This is cow facing arms, it's called. Gomukhasana. This is one of my favorite ones because I can still do it, but it is a little tricky. So arms up to the side, if you can. Inhale, cross them, and try to bring your hands together, and then exhale. Now this is great for your shoulders and your back, your upper back. If you can't do it, do this. And do it lower if it hurts. Okay, and then exhale, release, down your sides. And then just the opposite side. Inhale, exhale, cross, bring your hands together. Take a breath or two, or hold your shoulders or your sides, and then exhale, release. Okay, and then I'm going to just show one last one because I'm looking at the time. I could go all day with yoga. The breathing extends the time you think it's going to take to do poses, but the breathing is key, and it's also very beneficial. Okay, the last floor pose I'm going to show, I'm actually going to show two similar things depending on what you want to do, and a block or a stack of blankets is, or a bolster is pretty crucial here. So legs up the wall, and I don't really have a flat wall, so I put legs up the chair. And you can also put legs on the chair. These are these get you into the inversion, which is very beneficial for your immune system and your digestive system, as well as physically. So first I will show you legs up the wall, or in my case, legs up the chair. So I do have a bolster, but you could stack blankets and go in from this side. It's look a little funny, but you can't do it easily from the front, so you have to go up the side. Get your back on the bolster, and that's it. And you just rest your legs, and most people do have a wall they can put their legs up on. So you could just rest your legs on the wall. Now I'm going to do this, which is also wonderful. And just breathe naturally from your abdomen if you can. Take a couple breaths. And this could also be used for Shavasana, the last pose of yoga, where you just stay here for 5 minutes and rest. Now, while I'm flat on my back, I'm going to just quick show you a way to do shoulder stand, which I cannot do at all anymore. But it's one of the best poses, but it's a modified half shoulder stand with the block. So I'm just going to quick show you this. Yeah, it's not how to get into it. I'm going to lay flat on the floor in supine position. Put my feet to support my back, feet on the floor, and then I'm just going to slide the block here. And the key is to get it right at the edge of your pelvis, not high and not too low, to avoid any discomfort. And then your arms are flat on the floor, and on an inhale, raise your knees. And an exhale, raise your legs. And there you have a supported shoulder stand. You're getting all the benefits of the blood flowing from your feet towards your head. And then just take a few breaths. And to release, put one foot down at a time to support your back. Hold the block out. And roll over to one side. And then push yourself up. I would caution you never to just sit up straight, because that can hurt your back. If you are going to do that, put your hands under the base of your spine to provide support. Okay. And I hope everyone who did that with me feels good and not too. I tried to pace it so you wouldn't get out of breath.
I think you did excellent. That was great. Thank you so much. I especially love the fact that you, as a myeloma patient, have been able to continue this, and you've been able to continue it with the same passion as before. Maybe make a different couple options than you were using beforehand. But I'm just so excited in this Myeloma Moves chapter to be able to show real movements that myeloma patients can do in different modifications. So thank you so much, Jean. I also forgot to show them in your slides that you prepared in these resources right here. Jean's awesome. She hyperlinked it. So when you download the slides and when we send them to you, even as a PDF, you should be able to click this resources, and it's going to take you. Can you see the resources, Jean? Did it switch to the right?
Yeah, I can see them. They're small, so I'm going close to them.
Oh, here.
And actually, you know what? Oh no, I don't have them, but yes. Oh yeah, perfect. Yes, so I'll just say a couple words about this. These are some of the many websites that either talk about it, have free classes for cancer patients, have training for teachers. So the main reason I did the 200-hour basic training was that it's a prerequisite to take any of the cancer teacher training workshops, which is my next step to do. And these are some I found, but there's so many. I gave you a lot of the higher level ones, and I was really excited. I was telling Audrey to see that Roswell Park, some of the cancer centers are doing it, not just cancer teachers. And one other thing I didn't list on the types is some people use trauma-informed yoga. That's a big thing right now too. And it covers a lot of areas, not specifically cancer, but you might, but yes. And then I just listed a lot of places you can find classes or resources for yoga, mainly cancer yoga or restorative yoga.
I'm
Oh.
muted. You would think after doing so many of these. I was just saying, as we said, we will include those in the follow-up email. So it's now your opportunity as the audience to ask Jean your questions. Several people asking how did they download that. It will be sent to you via email because you registered for the class. So wow, my mind is not working. The recording, the slides, and the resources will all be sent to you in that follow-up email. And that should be there within 48 hours of right now. Diana's wondering if you're getting lots of great compliments of how wonderful that session was. So thank you. And
Yeah.
Diana's also wondering if they're able to access those kind of classes in Canada.
I do not know. I'd have to look. Now I will, it depends. If they're online, you can. The online, oh yes, all those online ones. In fact, I was so excited to discover, and I felt like an idiot because everyone I told about it said, oh yeah, I know that. Insight Timer, someone my husband worked with told me about it, and it's known for meditation. That's what everybody knows it for. And it is free with donations, but they are all over the world. So there's classes 24/7. Now, Canada time zones are the same as ours, but you'll meet teachers and students in Italy, England, all over, and they have live yoga classes. Now, when I say live, it's interesting. They are live, but they're not Zoom. So we can see them. They can't see us, but they can answer questions. You can ask questions in the chat room. And the first 6 months of COVID, I lived on those because my studio had only very limited things. And I was still working at that time. So I could work it around my schedule. So yes, the answer to that is there are many that you can get in Canada. They're not limited. And in fact, even my regular yoga studio, students who have moved away all over the world are taking classes on Zoom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so exciting just to see, as you were saying, the more people that have done things on the internet due to COVID. I mean, I'd never like to go through a shutdown again personally, but but it was, I mean, it's such a benefit, right? Like this very program where we can meet virtually on these Zoom meetings. And I know the internet existed before COVID, but it's so nice to be able to gather together in sessions like this and watch online sessions like yoga. Dolores is saying in Canada, you can also check out Wellspring. So that is another one. I'll put that in the chat. Wellspring for those in Canada. I love sharing resources. This is part of why we bring the community together to network and share resources. So thank you. Mary's saying excellent information to begin with and so good to see the poses demonstrated. Thank you, Jean. Thanks for the links to the resources. Beverly's saying wonderful. Jenny is too. It was just a great job, Jean. That was really excellently done and so applicable. Like I was like, wait, I can do this. As you were doing it, I was like, okay.
Many people are so intimidated, and I get it now that I'm older. When I was younger, I didn't, well, and I didn't know any of this. So
Mhm.
yes, the key is, adapting, modifying, but you still get the benefits and you do what you can do. And so thank you. Actually, I should mention the training that I did was in Australia. The
Oh
place
my
was in
goodness.
Australia and Bali. And so I had to look at time zones, and it's like you say with the recording, if it was live within my time zone, I wasn't going to get up at 3 a.m. when some class, they sent us all the recordings. So you had both.
Hmm. That's awesome. One of my questions was going to be, do you practice yoga every day, and do you vary throughout the week what kind of yoga you're practicing?
So that is a great question, because any very active yoga teacher will tell you that you should do it every day, at least, even if it's only 20 minutes. So I will be honest and say that when I was doing the training, I did it every day. And when I wasn't, I was trying to do it at least 3 times a week. And then in between, I do little things that aren't a formal yoga practice, but that are yoga. So if I find myself standing in a line somewhere, this is one of my favorites, and it looks silly, but it's really good. It's oh God, I'm turning the lights on. I was trying to turn um, it's a shoulder stretch. So if I'm standing anywhere, I just remember, don't throw your hips off. Like if you're standing in a line, keep your legs, hip width, and then I just do this.
Hmm.
Opens up your chest and your
It
shoulders.
makes me want to do it right now.
I do it when I'm sitting too. Or if I'm feeling funny, I just do this.
Mm.
And I just make sure my back. And so even if I don't do it every day, I do things every day, little
Yeah.
things.
Well,
And
that's even more interesting to me because it's like almost a part of who you are. It's part of your lifestyle now. I love that.
right. And it is so helpful. I was, going to mention, because people are saying, oh, I could do this, that before I got myeloma, I was also doing it. This was part of a whole fitness thing. I was doing Pilates, ballroom dancing, tap dancing. Um,
Wow.
I'm not a runner. When I was young, I did a gym thing, but I'm not a, runner type person. I'm more the whatever these things are. I did stop Pilates because I was doing reformer and I just felt like it was not good. But I think if I did privates, it would be okay. But you can only do so much. And for the fatigue thing, someone recommended to me a few years ago Qigong, which I'm doing now at a local rec center for
Mm-hmm.
free. So check that out. And Silver Sneakers is I'm starting to use that because I just turned 65. They do have a lot of yoga and a lot of fitness stuff. And I'm trying it out because I need the cardio, but be careful is all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
You do weights and bands and all of that, which is great, and I love it, but take care of yourself. That's my message.
Definitely. Love it. Totally true. Jenny's saying that she's 67 and going to be certified through CETI. That's incredible. Congratulations, Jenny.
Great.
And then Beverly saying she does tree pose waiting for a pot to boil, which is I just love that. I love because I'm such an all or nothing girl that when I'm like, no, wait, it can be a part of like my lifestyle.
Great.
And then it makes me more excited. Do you ever, I mean, not now, but I think when I think of yoga, I think of like the extreme back bends and the headstands. I mean, did you ever do those?
Oh, yeah, that was a big loss for me because, yes, those are what people think of. And I was able to just stand up and go into a back bend because I was
Oh
a
my
gymnast
gosh.
up until myeloma.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked my way back to a back bend, not quite as extreme until this relapse, through poses and props. I now actually I'll run over. I didn't do this for people. This is still considered a back bend for those of you that can't do the kind Audrey's talking about. And some of you may know that. This is a back bend because your back is still arching and going up. So you can do it a lot of different ways. Yes, I used to do it. Then I also did handstands, headstands, all that stuff. Up until, myeloma. And unfortunately, my computer is sitting on it right now, but there's a thing called a headstander that is magical.
That's awesome.
Because my doctor told me I can't because of my neck.
Mm.
If any of you have seen or used, my studio bought them. And it's a little stand about this high. So your neck hangs and you can go up.
Wow.
Into a headstand and just hang, and your head doesn't touch the floor, but you're vertical. So yeah, I still do those, but not the way you think.
Yeah. So one last question and then we'll finish up for tonight. Beverly said she's been doing yoga for 21 years and then was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and had a plasmacytoma, she says tumor on L5, and doctor said no more yoga. She misses it so much, but feels that these poses that you did today might be safe for her. Did you ever have your doctor say no more yoga? And what's your opinion on this? Not medical advice, but what's your personal opinion?
That is a wonderful point. And I would want to, if I were her, I'd want to know what her doctor knows about yoga. Because I was really lucky. Yes, I did have that conversation, but amazingly, my doctor does yoga.
Oh, okay.
My oncologist does yoga and ballroom dancing. I don't know how I lucked out that way. And so she's been totally supportive. For your question, I would bring pictures and I would gather some resources, which is what I do with other
I love it.
And talk to the doctor, because there are things you can do. It just isn't what he may think, he or she, because mine's a woman. And it may not be what he thinks yoga is. I mean, I did ask her about the neck, no shoulder stands, because you can hurt anything with the neck, because I had a lot of damage in the neck. So I know, don't do headstands, don't do shoulder stands, but I showed you a little easy one you could do. There's lots of things like that. Or sometimes when I went to the cancer yoga class, all they had us do was twist on the floor and lay over a bolster.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to show you more things you think of as yoga, but there are quite a few other things you can do. So I would bring some information to your doctor, because
I love that idea. And if he or she is really against it, I would seek a second opinion just to make sure, especially if it's something you have expertise in, something that your body is used to. You're going to know what your limits are. You're going to know what to avoid. You're going to know safe poses. So I would also seek a second opinion. I'm not telling you do hardcore yoga tonight, but as Jean was saying, I would definitely bring it up again with your doctor and seek a second opinion if necessary. Awesome. Well, Jean, we're closing up for the night. Do you have anything else that you want to share before I share some closing announcements?
Not really. I think if you have questions, feel free to email me. It's on the slides or the resource pages. And what I have to do, because it's a little bit of yoga, is namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we connected and that you were able to come tonight. I'm really thankful for you.
Thank you.
Remember, everyone, as you leave the meeting, take the 2 to 3 minutes to give us feedback. What did you like about tonight? What can we do better? And what future topics would you like to cover in 2023? We're going to be meeting in December of 2022, which is next month. Several of you have wondered with these exercise bands, as we're traveling to maybe see family, or maybe we're staying at home and not going to the gym as much during this holiday season or our studios, we can exercise at home with these resistance bands. What are the benefits of resistance bands? Let's do demonstrations. I have a couple speakers that I'm talking to, and hopefully we can get them. December is kind of a difficult time for speakers, but I promise that I'm going to do my best and let you know via email as soon as this is available to register for. You may be interested in upcoming events. On the 3rd at 6:30 p.m., we have the Southeast Myeloma Community Chapter. We're going to be discussing building your healthcare team. So if you live anywhere from Delaware to Georgia, meet with us that night to discuss and network with each other. Then on the 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern is our stem cell transplant chapter. We're going to be talking about a little known resource that we have on the website called the Complete Guide to Autologous Stem Cell Transplant. It's amazing. Coaches who have been through transplants worked really hard to create an amazing comprehensive resource for both inpatient and outpatient stem cell transplants. So make sure to come to that if you want to learn about it, learn how to find it on our website and share it with other people. Last but not least, we have our on the 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific is our regional Southern California chapter. That meeting will not be recorded, so please attend in person or online if you're in the SoCal area. It's Thanksgiving and receiving opportunities and resources for multiple myeloma patients. The link to sign up for any of those events and even more events I didn't mention is found at the bottom of that slide. A big thank you to our sponsors, Bristol Myers Squibb, GSK, Genentech, AbbVie, and Amgen. And thank you to each of you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you and thank you for helping us build this community. Good night, everyone. Take care.